I have a special request for the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
A wrap-up, similar to last month.
Okay, Mary, you have another item.
Just a special request. If you recall, last month at the end of the meeting, we were talking about escorts. King had read a letter about the P-51 Mustang, or remembrance about the P-51 Mustang, and I asked all of you if you recalled escorts. I have a special request. Can I take 10 minutes of going around the room similarly for stories about what you'd recall about April 18th, 1942, if anyone remembers hearing about the Doolittle Raid? Dick, you had a story about a B-25?
I was flying in B-25s at that time. We were stationed at Mitchell Field and covering convoys and ships and anti-submarine patrol.
I was flying B-25s after.
So when we heard about the Doolittle Raid, and Roosevelt said they flew from Shangri-La.
They can't hear you unless you stand up and. Okay. Oh yeah, here we go.
You want to go this way?
Yeah, that's good.
My camera instructor tells me where to go.
At the time of the Doolittle Raid, I was in a B-25 outfit, and we were stationed at Mitchell Field doing convoy coverage and anti-submarine work. And I had a pilot. He was an old man, 38-year-old man, Captain Buswell. That was his name, Buswell. And anyhow, Roosevelt came out and said they flew from Shangri-La. And so anyhow, Buswell, he had some of the ground crew go out and measure the distance of a aircraft carrier runway, and paint a strip across the runway. And I'll never forget that. He had the brakes on, he revved those engines like mad, and we had maybe a 15-mile-an-hour headwind, and we got off well before that marker. But the other thing was interesting. The radio operator said the B-25 midship back of the bomb bay, but there was a crawl space up above that you could crawl up in front. Well, that particular day, one of the mechanics had left his toolbox setting on top of that crawl space, and my head, like the crawl space was here, my head was like here. Anyhow, he takes off with that thing, and all of a sudden, zoom, the toolbox comes zipping by. So that's my story.
That kind of explains all the problems you have.
Any other recollections? B-25s, King?
Last 6 months of World War II, I was stationed at Aberdeen Proving Ground. We were testing airborne ordnance, and the vehicle we used was B-25. It was a late model and had bomb equipment in it, bomb sight, but no other armament, so it was pretty light. And the kind of things we did were really, really fun. And one of them we did was we tested fuses on a hard surface, so they had a big concrete area like a football field. And we put bombs in there with time-delayed fuses, and we'd get up to 2,500 feet and roll over and get up to the right airspeed. You'd toggle off a bomb one at a time, and it would bang on the concrete. And you had a little tower there, and somebody marked where it went in the weeds. And you pick it up, put it in a shack, and wait till the fuse went off, a little spotting fuse. That was one thing I did, a lot of those. Another thing we did that was really fun is that I got paid to do this too. The Air Force, whenever they bought a lot of bombs, they'd take random samples and they'd send them to Aberdeen to make sure they worked. So each time you did one of these things, you'd drop just one bomb. So you usually took off with 6 and make 6, whatever. So we get these bombs, and ones that be tested, the lot tests, you put them in a bomb bay and you go out over a range. This is all at Aberdeen. And you fly over the range and toggle the bomb off. You go up like this and watch this thing go kaboom, you know. And you have 500-pound bombs and go back and do another. And I thought, I feel like a kid on the 4th of July gets paid to do this. But one of the other things that we did that was interesting, a couple of things. One was that once in a while the Pentagon would want to impress some dignitary from some other nation. Usually somebody who was military, so they bring them to Aberdeen, and they had out on the edge of the bay, they had bleachers, and so we load B-25 up. This is just a one-pass thing with a high explosive bomb and you'd make a pass, and you go, here are the people sitting this way, you go past them like this, and you get down about 50 feet, and you drop a time delay bomb fuse. It had about a 3-second delay, and you chandelle up like this, turn around, and this thing would hit the water and bounce and go up in the air, and go, boom. And this was to impress the foreign dignitaries. But one thing that got to me the most was that they were preparing to invade the Japanese mainland. And this one was highly classified. So at Edgewood Arsenal, which was across the Bush River, the Japanese had these underground pillboxes. They were solid concrete, and they were 10 feet below dirt. And so the name of the game was to see if they could knock these things out with an airplane, with a bomb. So one day I got up there with this other guy. He was more experienced than I was. I was in the co-pilot seat. And so we came down like this on the deck. I thought the tail was going to scratch the dirt, and dropped this high explosive time delayed fuse bomb, snake it into the dirt, chandelle up like this, and hope that the bomb would dig down in the dirt and blow up the pillbox. So they built 2 of these pillboxes, and we blew them up. I never got the results back, but we did some. The B-25 was a fun airplane. You can do anything wrong in it, but still fly. Easy.
Noisiest airplane ever made.
I was going to say the noise.
Now the 51 was noisier than that.
I've got a, I think it's a 30-minute video that I put together of Doolittle's funeral in Arlington Cemetery. You guys want to see it sometime. It's a very impressive video.
Bud worked with Jimmy Doolittle. Am I right that you did some work with? Didn't you do some work with Jimmy Doolittle? You were on the same committee or something?
Oh, no, we support him from the Air Force Association. But one thing that I did with the B-25, an outfit I was assigned to right after the war, was assigned to Newark Air Base to support the Signal Corps in their requirements to furnish airborne weather equipment, the Air Force. So one day after we'd been involved in that project for a year or so, we had a bunch of scientists show up from the Signal Corps at Fort Monmouth with a new project for us. They wanted us to take up some granulated dry ice and drop it into a supercooled overcast and see what would happen. So we met up at Schenectady County Airport, loaded the airplane, took off, went over to Albany Radio and climbed up through the overcast up to a point about northwest of Schenectady, about 10 miles on top of the overcast, and flew a dog's leg pattern and dropped this dry ice in the top of the overcast. It went by once, no particular effect. The second time around, we could see the V-shaped cloud in the overcast. Next time around, nothing more happened. So we called and came back to Albany Radio and let down through the overcast, came back to Schenectady County Airport. When we got there, there's this giant big hole in the overcast that we could have stayed there and let down through that overcast with no problem whatsoever. So I wound up on that project for about 2 years up to Schenectady.
And that's how it all started.
Not much of Jimmy Doolittle, but I had fun.
Thanks. Thank you for letting me do that.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.